My name is Steve Bruno. I'm an applications engineer here at Sensible Technologies, and I'll be demoing a molding workflow for a hollow part with Freeform Modeling Plus. So right here I'm opening up a pre-created ergonomic handle that I created from scratch in Freeform Modeling Plus. And what I want to do is I want to create a mold for this piece. So first I want to turn on our parting line colors and set it to the side view. You can see there's a little red there that shows where the actual piece is going to be tangent to the draft of the angle at which it comes out of the mold, so we want to get rid of that. We don't want it to be tangent to that piece because it'll be very difficult for it to get out of the mold. So what I want to do is I want to create a parting line. I can create a parting line automatically with the parting line tools, or I can do it manually. Since this is a symmetrical part, I'm just going to do it manually. It's easier for me to do it that way. So I want to set up a plane in the middle of the part just off center. And the reason I'm doing that is because I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to slice that curve, as you see, around the part using the plane. And the reason I'm doing it just off center is because I want to create a draft for this piece, so it will come out of the mold nice and easily. And I want it to be just off center because I'm going to go ahead and just mirror this piece over. And if it was right in the middle and then I mirrored it, there would be a seam. But since you can see right here, it's a little off center, so when I mirror it, there's no seam. There might be a little ridge, as you can see there, but I can get rid of that really easily just using our smooth tool. I can smooth out the entire piece, give it some transition. I can do that a couple times, and then I can even go back with the manual smooth tool a bit and just go over that ridge a few times. You could have done it a different way. You could have, instead of adding clay to create the draft, you could have subtracted clay to create the draft. In that case, the parting line wouldn't really matter where it was because there would be no seam. You would be taking away clay instead of adding clay. Those are the two different options you have with creating a draft. You can either add or subtract clay. I personally like to add clay, but it also does depend on the part that you're actually working with. So right now I'm shelling the part. I just gave it a thickness. You can see I turned on the dot view. There's a little shell area that you can see there. Just to make sure that it is shelled, you can also cut it in half or poke a hole in it just to make sure that it is shelled and the thickness is what you like. It's what you want. So what I want to do now is, with that shell, I want to go ahead and create a split joint for the mold. So I'm just turning on the parting line colors again just to make sure that there's no issues with draft. It's nice and crisp. There's the blue and then there's the beige. There's no red. So what I'm doing now is I'm setting the groove joint properties for some inserts on that split joint. So there's areas of like a dovetail where the two parts will force themselves together in the right position. It's not just flat against flat. There are joints. So I'm just adding angles and the depth for the shape and the size of these groove joints. So I just go along the edge, and you can see I'm adding that groove where the parts will come together. I can go ahead and edit the angle. The angle is a little tight, is a little steep right there, so I might want to get rid of that and knock it down a bit. Right now I'm just going to open up the next file just for demo purposes. You can see that I did the entire part, just adding some groove joints incrementally around the split joint. So at this point I want to take the clay part, and now that I have the split joint in the middle as a patch, I want to create the entire piece as a patch. So I go ahead and I make the part, and you can see that now I have one side as an entire blue piece. What I'm doing now is I'm just going to set up the boundaries of my insert block so that when I extrude the parting surface for the block, it will extrude to these boundaries and only these boundaries, so I have the shape that I like. So now what I want to do is I want to go ahead and I want to extrude the parting surface, and you can see I can grab an area along the split joint and literally just pull out that parting surface. It doesn't matter how far that arrow is because it'll only go to the extent of the boundaries that I set earlier. So I want to pull out upright, down and left, and then to the corners, so I get the entire parting surface. And then from there I can start building the blocks. And what I want to do is I want to go ahead and make insert blocks using that tool. And I want to select the outside edge, I want to select the parting line, and then I want to select the core. And what that does is it creates this orange piece, which is now a mesh cavity. and I'll have the mesh cavity for the inside and the outside. And now you can see I have the two insert blocks. Now what I'm doing here is I'm creating two mold cavities for one side of the part. Now if this was a solid part, it would only be two sides for the entire part, but since this is a mesh cavity for a hollow part, I need to do one side for half of the part, and then the other half of the part has to have also another clamshell. So it ends up having four pieces altogether, but I'm just showing you how to do one. So what I just did there is I showed you, I started drawing some fit curves along the mesh, and since it does take quite a bit of time for the demo, I just opened up the next file where all the curves were drawn and completed. So you can see that I've set up a network of curves along that side of the handle. So at this point what I want to do is I want to go ahead and start creating my manual patches along this entire piece using these curve networks. Now you can go ahead and make these NURBS patches and then export the entire insert block as one piece, or if you want, since this orange part is already a mesh, you can just export this mesh as an STL, export all the blue parts that you see as an IGES or a step file, a NURBS file, and then you can import those as separate pieces into one CAM program as one file. They will import together into one viewing area, so you can have the part actually milled. But in this case, I just want to show you how to make manual patches, so that if you did want to do that, you could. So right now I showed you how to start making the patches, then I opened up the file that had all the patches done to save some time, and what I did here is I just stitched the entire insert block into one piece. So now I'm going to go ahead and export this out as one NURBS file, and like I said, I would do this for the other side of the first half, and then I need to do two more clamshells for the other side. So all in all, you'll end up with four insert blocks, two for one side of the hollow part and two for the other side of the hollow part. So after I exported that as a NURBS file, I did export it out as a step file, and it is one piece, or one file, excuse me, for that one insert block. And what I'm doing now is I'm importing it into SolidWorks just to show you the interoperability that is available with Freeform Modeling Plus. Like I said, we do have the capability of exporting NURBS. So here you go. It's in SolidWorks, and it's all one piece. And then I would just do that same process for the other three insert blocks, and you'd have two clamshells for your hollow part. So it came out pretty nice, and thanks for watching.